If you are watching the stream, sportscage.com, you see him right there all decked out. Nice looking shirt and rider hat there, Darian.
Yep,
joining us today. But you thought that it would be Calgary over our Riders, you said last week. I'll let you take the floor because usually you will admit when you were wrong.
Yeah, absolutely. I was dead wrong. And God almighty, I'm so happy to be wrong in this case. I just didn't, who forecasted Armstead to come in and do what he did, to be able to control the ball on the ground. Whenever you can play like that, you allow Trevor to minimize the attempts that he can take and be as deadly accurate as he just does what he does best in that situation. So hats off to the Riders. I'm so glad they proved me wrong, and I can stand in my wrongness for sure.
No, hey, we're not always going to be right? Even though our wives think we are not always right. We are not. Okay, but let's start with Armstead, because you were the guy last Monday, and then I ran with it all week. I was like Darian said, a guy running back position is one of the positions where you can bring a guy in off the street and he can do his job. That's what happened, Darian. We just had Coach Philip Daniels on, who says he runs like Adrian Peterson. I think that was a fair comparison.
Absolutely. I mean, there's nothing more deadlier than an angry running back, a guy who is determined to prove himself, a guy who has just been cast off by another team and just, thrown to the wind and not given an opportunity. So I just feel like whenever you can plug a guy into a situation like that, he's desperate, he's fighting for his job, and he wants to prove to an organization that he belongs. There's nothing deadlier than that.
What we, I think Dave, or maybe it was Luke, they talked to Trevor Harris, and we're like, hey, in the huddle, because he hasn't been here more than a couple days, learning the playbook, all that. So take us in as a quarterback in the huddle when you have a guy that hasn't been around that much. He probably knows the gaps and the holes. Are you just taking that extra couple seconds to just say, all right, do you got it? Are you sure you know what we're doing here?
Absolutely. You have to simplify things. That's first and foremost. You have to make sure that you're on the same page with your running back, especially in the pass game. But whenever you can hand the ball off to him, he's getting 5, 6, 7 yards on first down, making things so much easier for the offense. It just allows that flow. You can get out of the huddle quicker. Trevor now has time to see what the defense is doing. He has time to, whisper, not necessarily whisper, but talk to Armstead and let him know what to do on each play, because you've broken the huddle faster. You have those few extra seconds to at the line of scrimmage to make calls. So it makes it easier when you're running the ball and you can just, control the clock like that.
Darian, do you ever remember another guy coming in like that with literally 1 day or 2 days of practice and having such an impact on a team and how they performed within that game?
Not really, man. This was a standoff performance by Armstead. I mean, for him not to have many practices at all, for him and for him to produce like he did, you could see in that fourth quarter he was a little winded because he hadn't had those reps. When the cameras got on him, he needed a blow. So I haven't seen this. This is a rare situation. And but like I said last week, if there's one position that can just come in without much practice and not much knowledge of the playbook, it's a running back, because most of the time, even numbers go to the right, odd numbers go to the left. It's not that hard. It's the pass protection that you worry about with the verbiage. But, I'm sure Coach Mueller, who's a former athlete himself, he knows how to break things down and simplify things and put guys in situations where it's easy for them to pick up.
So how big of a bee in the bonnet do you think it is to the Ottawa Red Blacks that he went out and ripped off 207 yards and they got to face him this week?
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure that's something as a GM you don't want to see. You don't want to see the guy that you let go and have success with another organization. That's tough. That has to be tough for a GM and a head coach. But, these things happen all the time in sports, and you just never know. Some guys do better in different situations. And, another thing that I noticed is just more opportunities. When you can get the ball 20, 25 times, you have more opportunities to break off long runs and to, get those stats. So for him to come to Saskatchewan in this situation, this part of the season when, I've bbeen mentioning this for weeks, is this is the time when you want to run the ball. This is the time when the most physical team can just impose their will on, the other team. You see what Winnipeg is doing with Oliveira and the winning streak that they're on, because they've decided to just run the ball and take the ball out of the hands of Zach Calero. So, the situations matter, and this seems like the perfect situation for Armstead.
What are you thinking when you see Trevor Harris get up and gallop there? Obviously a little bit slower than you would have been back there. But, hey, 17 yards total. His longest was 14, had a touchdown. Like I said earlier in the show, I looked at it and I'm like, whoa, our leader's playing desperate football here. This is great.
Yeah, this is playoff time. This is playoff. You're fighting for position. These games are going to be playoff-like atmospheres. So there's no time to save yourself. If you don't make plays here and there, you could be home come November. So you see that in Trevor. You see, and when guys see that, your teammates, they see Trevor laying it all on the line, that makes them want to play that much harder. So, this is the time of the year where you have to do whatever it takes to make plays and try to get these W's.
I thought Trevor did a really good job. What did he end up, 16, 18? Like, he didn't have to throw the ball a ton, but he did a really good job of using those receivers. Had some great yardage and some great throws downfield. What do we expect to see now against Ottawa this week? Do you expect the same sort of look from this Rider offense?
Absolutely. You have to be able to run the ball this time of the year. I mean, I understand that it's going to be a nice game, nice weather out there this week, but you have to impose your will. You have to make it easier for Trevor. When Trevor's throwing the ball 35 to 45 times a game, you're putting yourself in situations where there's room for error. And if you can turn around and hand the ball off to a running back, defenses now have to stack the box. Now you can predict coverage, what's going on, and that opens up the passes down the field. I mean, you saw, I think this was the most rushing yards that, the Riders have had since 2013. And a lot of that year with Corey Sheets, I was able to just see what the defense is doing. There's no disguising. You now have to load the box to stop the run. And you saw that from Calgary. And Trevor didn't have to do much. There's not much thinking goes into it as a quarterback when the team is loading the box. It's a very few coverages that they can play.
I was talking to your boy Luke on Friday before the game, and it's just like, Riders need to get to that second and manageable, right, where that run does. What for you, Darian, what was that number? Was it 2nd and 3, 2nd and 4, where it really opened up more of the playbook, that short stuff, the run was still there? What was that for you?
I think it's anywhere between 2nd and 4 to 6 is where, you can kind of figure out the tendency to the defense. A lot of defenses, when it's 7 or more, that's when you can disguise coverages. That's when you see a lot more zone coverage. But whenever it's 2nd and medium, what we like to call it, between 4 to 6 yards, you're very predictable. You know what you're going to see. And not only that, if you have a good run game and it's 2nd and 4, you can actually run the ball and get 3 yards, knowing that you can put yourself in a 3rd down situation where you can sneak and get a 1st down.
Okay, let's shift to the NFL.
Oh,
Sharky's a Cowboys fan.
Oh, Sharky's in a bad mood.
Sharky's a Cowboy fan.
He's in a bad place, man.
I don't know what's the deal there. Like, really, like, you look at what Baltimore did to them. Is it not that even New York this Thursday, who's hot garbage, the playbook's got to be just run on Dallas, right?
Yeah, I mean, if you look at Dallas, the past drafts that they've had, they haven't really addressed the linebacker position. And that's so key in, your run game fits, guys who have instincts of how to blitz, when to blitz, how to, see run game. So people, linebacker has been such an undervalued position over the last few years. And then even with Dallas, you see them playing safeties at linebacker, over the course of the past 2 years trying to stop the run. So I just think that they haven't really put much emphasis on it. And not only that, when you're paying guys, when you have to pay your quarterback and he wants top dollar and the receivers want top dollar. And then if you look at their offensive line over the past couple of years, they all wanted top dollar. it makes it so hard to fill in those important positions on defense. So I just think that, with the money that these offensive guys are taking up, you can't really pay guys on the defensive line and linebackers to come in and stop the run. So I think it's a salary cap issue that they have.
What I'm getting out of you, Darian, on this is they have a terrible general manager. That's what I'm hearing from you, is that it might start with the GM.
You see over the past 30 years with Jerry Jones in charge, not much success. It's been a lot of heartbreak. So, and I'm not saying he's terrible because he's had some great drafts and there's been a ton of talent on that team, but it's just little things that we're missing here. And I say we because my brother played for the Cowboys as well. So
yeah, exactly.
My heart is in it a little bit too, but it's just something missing there.
Okay, so let's take the Chiefs aside, because the Chiefs are the Chiefs. I mean, you never know what calls you're going to get and all that. This is scary. Okay, so we got the Steelers, the Seahawks, and the Vikings at 3-0. What 3-0 team there do you think's for real?
Man, I have to go with the Vikings. I'm just so shocked at what they've been able to do. They have the top receiver in the league. They addressed some issues on the defensive line, in the draft. And, I've always believed in Sam Darnold. I think that with him being drafted by the Jets, usually when you're a top draft pick, you go to a very bad team. And, you're not going to have a lot of success early. And for him to, start with the Jets, then go to San Francisco and learn from Kyle Shanahan. And now he's in Minnesota with the best receiver in the league. They have so much talent. They added Aaron Jones in the backfield. They're so balanced. And he's a pretty good quarterback, man. I've always thought that him coming out of USC, I've admired his game. So I think that he's in the perfect situation, and they're well coached, and they're balanced. And, you see that with them, dispersing their money opposite of the Cowboys. They paid the receiver, but they have so many other guys that they've been able to just keep and build around on that team. You can see the success that they're having.
Okay, last one. I'm already pot committed now. I've bet on it. I really actually got to go find your guy. That he says he's got a bookie. There's still bookies down.
I'll bet he's got a guy.
That would be fun. It'd be dangerous for me.
Yeah.
So I'd be like, how much do I owe you?
You have a slight addiction.
Yeah. Any chance that Jacksonville can pull it out in Buffalo tonight? I took Jacksonville for some reason, but then again, I took Carolina in Vegas.
Oh, that was a good pick. I mean, I'm sure. There were a couple games. I don't think anyone saw. Minnesota beating
Houston the way they did.
Right.
Nope.
Yeah. And the Rams beat the San Francisco 49ers. So there were a couple upsets, and I don't know about Jacksonville, man. They just haven't been able to put it together. They haven't scored a lot of points, but with the way this week has been going, it may not be a bad bet.
Okay, what's crazier? Jacksonville beating Buffalo or Washington upsetting Cincy?
Would Washington upsetting would Washington over Cincinnati be an upset? Cincinnati.
Oh, really?
7-point dog.
I don't know. I mean, that's Vegas, but Washington has shown flashes, and they have a win, which is hard to come by in the NFL. But I think the bigger upset would definitely be Jacksonville going up to Buffalo and winning. We all know that Buffalo's a tough place to play, and it'll be hard for them to do that.
Okay, before we let you go, I lied. We got Dale and Melfort, and the other reason I'm going to throw this out because I love Melfort. Great. You play the golf course there ever?
Yeah.
Great little track.
I'll be there Thursday, as a matter of fact.
Al Blevins, great guy, rest in peace. I love Blevs. Kate, he wanted to know, Darian, Ottawa is likely going to really be getting under Armstead's skin. As a quarterback, do you talk to your tailback and let him know to keep his cool?
Yeah, you have to. He's going to be fired up. I'm sure he was bitter and has a ton of animosity about the way things ended there. So you have to tell him to keep his cool. And the team is leaning on him, right? This is another must-win situation for the Riders, and you don't need him to be fiery and get an unnecessary penalty, unsportsmanlike conduct or something like that. Let your play do the talking in situations like this. Go out there, run for 150, 200 yards again to show them what they're missing. you don't need to hit a guy in his face and get a bad penalty and a bad situation and cause your team to game.
Okay. Do you want to throw a prediction out this week?
Absolutely. I'm with the Riders. As you can see, I'm with the Riders.
Yeah, okay. All right.
100% this week. They've definitely shown. I was surprised by that run game. And if they can keep that up this time of the year, it's very important. And Armstead definitely showed me that he's capable. So I'm going with the Riders. I think Ottawa has way too many injuries. And the Riders being at home must win. I think they get this one for sure.
All right. Love it. Doubles. Next week, Monday, here's a holiday. So let's catch up maybe next Tuesday.
Monday
Sounds
is a
good.
holiday?
Thanks, guys.
Right on.